Of course we've done that, Fernando. Why do you ask? What do you have here?
I have a beautiful 6x9.
These are the Kenwood Excelon 6x9s that we frequently talk about.
Oh yeah.
Look at those.
Yeah.
Alright, so the reason why we have these Kenwood Excelon speakers in our hands is because we have this Nissan Rouge that we had done the other day. We replaced his radio. Now that the radio is replaced, he figured out that his factory speakers sound not so good. So we've gone ahead and already got this front door off here. And by we, I mean Fernando, not me. I was coming over here.
Playing around.
Yeah, playing around. So let's take a look at the door. This door panel, this speaker has this cool little rain baffle here, as well as these two clips here. Probably gonna have to do a little bit of modification just to fit that big magnet, but let's check first.
Yeah, definitely. You see? Right
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna go ahead and remove this panel here and cut part of the rain guard out so that the magnet will go in. Now, if we don't have to, we don't totally remove the rain guard because, you know, the top half is nice, but yeah, the magnet is bigger. So this is the factory speaker here, so you can see it's got a little tiny magnet and it fits underneath the new Kenwood we're adding. You can see there's a definite size increase here. The sound improvement, as you can tell, look at this. It's just got a little whizzer cone here on the front. We have a nice big sexy tweeter. Woo! Yeah. What we want to do is kind of mount it like this to get an idea of what we have to remove. We're definitely going to have to remove a lot of this. Probably come up and across like this and then remove this portion here. Alright, so there we go. Now it's going to fit. We still have some of the rain guard on here. Alright, let's see how it test fits in the car. So what we'll probably do is we're gonna turn so the speaker leads are up. So we're gonna flip it, make sure it still fits. All right, good. Now the reason why we wanna make sure the speaker leads are up is because of this piece of metal right here. If we put the speaker leads down, chances are good it's going to touch at some point because, you know, these are open, this is metal, that creates a short. And that brings up an interesting point. A lot of times people are like, I put 4 new speakers in and a new radio, and when I turn it on, it says protect or get no sound, and they're brand new speakers. And a lot of the times they'll bring the car in, we'll pull the speaker out, radio turns on, and they're like, what'd you do? And it's like, you had the speaker mounted to where it was touching metal. One of those things you just have to be thinking about in the back of your head when you're putting speakers in a car is that, yeah, they're new speakers, but that metal is a ground. So when you're screwing those things in, make sure that those leads don't touch anything metal. Speaker wiring PSA over. Let's get back to putting this pair of speakers in the door. You got it foamed?
I got it foamed.
So we went ahead and put some foam on the back of the speaker so it's just not metal on plastic, just like the factory speaker would be. All we have to do is screw this thing back in. Alright, apparently they get the Fernando seal of approval. This one's done. You know what's next. On to the next one. That's right, you guessed it. We have another Ford F-150. So I really have to thank Ford for putting this crappy little 3-inch or 5-inch, whatever the hell they're calling, screen in their dash. I mean, this is so ugly and silly. And I know you guys with the 8-inch, you want to take that out too, not Sony of course, because it sucks as well. And the reason why I'm thankful is that because they put that crappy thing in, and Pack Audio came out with their dash kit, this one right here, the RPK4-FD2201. If you've been watching this show, you know we've been doing quite a few of these. And it's to the point now it's like, well, what do we talk about? Because we've done enough of them. If you got a Ford and you can't find our video to put that in your truck, the question is, what can we show you guys that we may never have showed you before on this? Probably nothing, but we are doing a backup camera. My personal favorite backup camera, of course, cool tag cam. This one right here from Echo Master, the Cam LF3. Comes up with these model numbers, they suck. Anyways, so we did it from the install bay. That was like part 2 to Camera 101. That was like everything you need to know after 101. So I was gonna call it 201, but that just seems silly. One of the questions was, what if I have a smart harness, like let's say this that comes with a pack smart harness, how do I wire it in and what should I look for? That's a great question. And it should be a standalone video, but it's not, because I want you guys that watch the show to know this information. And hopefully you'll tell your friends and be like, how'd you know that? The plan today is obviously we're gonna put the radio in this, we're gonna put a backup camera in it, but what we're gonna show you is things to look for when connecting that red power wire up from the camera to this when you're using a smart harness, because depending on the smart harness you're using, you may or may not blow up the module if done incorrectly. Now don't freak out, we're gonna show you. So let's get to it. So we have all our parts set up. We have the brain box. This is the lead to the new backup camera. This particular camera is a 3-piece harness. There's the camera, there's the wire that runs through the car, and then there's a pigtail that goes behind the radio. We have the main wiring harness that we're going to talk about here more in a bit. Now, if you have a factory camera in this car already, this is the factory camera retention cable. Obviously, this one doesn't have one, so we're going to set this in our parts bin. And of course, our instructions. So just a brief overview of the wiring portion, since we're going to spend some time on that. This gives you what each wire will do right here on page 9. So it will talk you through the main wiring harness, what each one of these ends has on them. They try to split it apart into groups, like this is navigation output. So if you just see a wire that you don't know what it is, for example, red white. What is red white? This doesn't have a red white. You can come over here and just search through until you find red white, and it talks about 12-volt programmable output. Okay. Now what we want to do is go ahead and get this all split apart. We're going to go ahead and attach all the Pioneer wires to this, and then when we get to the actual portion where we're going to talk about the camera, we'll go ahead and stop. When using one of these smart harnesses, this is the key. Most of these only put out 1 amp of output for the red wire. That's not going to be enough to power the radio and a camera. So you have to check and see what the output for the red accessory wire is. And this, the instructions, you go over here to where it says the red wire, it says accessory output 10 amps. That's going to be enough to power up the radio and the backup camera. You could possibly even get away with doing a front-facing camera on it as well, because most cameras don't really draw more than 2 or 3 amps. If you're going to be doing more than a 10 amp draw on this, then you need to add a relay. So this is a standard 5-pin Bosch style relay that you would need, and how this would hook up is there's a couple different pins here. There's the outside pins and the top and bottom pins. You have 5 pins, 4 of which you're going to use for this. You have 85 and 86. 85 is ground, 86 is going to be accessory from the unit. So the red wire that comes out of this is going to connect to this and this only, nothing else. So out of the brain, right to this. Next, 87 here in the top is going to get hooked up to constant 12 volts. So unlike this where you just come out of this and go straight to this, for this guy here you're just going to tee off. So you're just, you're going to have it going to the radio, and then you're going to have it branch off and come up and go to this guy here. Then 30 is going to be your new output. So that's going to go out and feed all your accessories. And the reason why I mention the relay is because we talk and preach about using the accessory wire to power the camera. But on these smart harnesses, it can be tricky. Looking at other smart harnesses like this one right here, this one says accessory output 12 volts 1 amp. This is only 1 amp output. This is only enough to turn on the radio. That's it. In this case, you would definitely have to hook up a relay. Next, you have a harness that looks like this guy right here. Now in this guy, this little bundle of joy right here that looks like a black Tootsie Roll, this is a relay. It's just a small version of this right here. So when you see something like this on the line, then you're fine. You don't have to worry about a relay. So you have 3 different scenarios that you're looking at here. This brain box has some form of a light relay in it up to 10 amps. The smart box that this plugs into clearly doesn't have any output, so they give you a relay on the outside. Then there's the smart box that this plugs into that they didn't give you a relay, and they're clearly telling you that it is just 1 amp output. If you already have this installed in your car, or you had it installed in your car and you just want to come after the fact and do it, that's where the gray area happens, because you don't know. You don't have these instructions sitting in front of you to tell you that this has a 10 amp output. More than likely, an installer went ahead and ripped this stupid flag off because it's a stupid flag. If you see the relay, you know. So best practice is, if you see this, you're golden. If you have something like this or something like this and you don't see this, add this. That's confusing. So we have all the non-essential reverse wires hooked up. The 3 we don't have hooked up are the red accessory, the black ground, and then this is what makes smart harnesses cool. Most smart harnesses are going to have a reverse trigger. Not all, most will have a reverse trigger. So in this case, it has a purple-white output that is going to trigger the camera. So for this, we don't have to run to the rear of the car, grab a light, or try to find the reverse trigger someplace else. What we want to do is connect our purple-white wire to to the Pioneers, in this case a purple white wire because they both share the purple white. Now not all smart harnesses use the purple white wire as reverse. Some use green Metra. If you're going to do theirs, they have a totally different color scheme all in themselves, so they're going to be a little different as well. So now we just have the accessory and ground, and on this camera it has an accessory and ground. So we're going to go ahead and add in our accessory and ground to these connections here. So the smart harness, if it has a reverse trigger, can definitely make your life easier, or in the case of a relay, altogether more complicated. If we didn't add the relay, what would happen? Is a great question. So if you're dealing with one of the units that only has a 1 amp output and you hook up, let's say 5 amps to it, that's 5 amps on a 1 amp circuit, insert the explosion here from a Soundman video, because that's what's going to happen to your module. You're going to blow it up. Now what we need to do is just tape up this harness, make it look a little pretty, and get it into the car. So where are we at? You finishing up the Bluetooth mic? Some of you guys ask where we put the Bluetooth mic. We either like to go here above the mirror or over there by the A-pillar. Now one other thing to keep in mind when you're putting in a backup camera, you have to go in and turn it on. It does not come as default on. And then as far as camera polarity goes, I haven't run into a car yet that's been anything other than the battery setting, which is positive. All right, we're good there. All right, this guy is done. Finished getting our stuff out of the car, and on to the next one. Next up, big GMC truck. Ford GMC. We don't care, we just love trucks. Right, Fernando? We love trucks.
I love trucks, man.
Where are you at? I can't even see you. You standing up? You sitting down? Oh, there he is. Fernando.
Hey, buddy.
He's
What's
playing,
going on?
playing for the NBA. What are we putting in? Well, we're going to be using this guy right here. This is an RP4 GM31, another smart harness, and that is going to connect to this guy right here, the AVH 1330 NEX. Now, in case you didn't know, there's a 1300 and a 1330. The main difference between a 30 and a 00 is this is what's called limited distribution, meaning you have to buy from Pioneer, not a distributor. 2, this has HD radio. 3, this has the option to add a front-facing camera. Dash kit. Of course, the best kits, we got the BK GMK 317. Let's get started. Let's go ahead and open this bad boy up and take a look at it. We were just talking about the one in the Ford. This isn't getting a backup camera, but we can take a look at the harness and see how it looks so we have another perspective on this. Right off the bat, we have no little flag, but we also have no relay. Go ahead and open the instructions here, and right here, red, there it is. Accessory output 1 amp. So on this harness, it's a 1 amp output, so we definitely need a relay, but then they didn't give us a flag. Like I said, if in doubt, always just add a relay, just to be safe. Now, we're not hooking up a backup camera, so we don't have to worry about that. What we need to do is find out if this car has Bose or not. That's why these RCAs are on here. If it has Bose, then you can just plug these into the back of the radio and you're done. It's pretty awesome. If it doesn't have Bose, we just have to cut these off. So we're gonna head into the car now and see what kind of system it has. Now fortunately, Bose is one of those companies that is proud of itself and will put its name any place it can find a place to put its name. So typically they put it over here onto the tweeter on the dash, it'll say Bose. Sometimes it'll be on here on the radios. They typically don't put it on the door in these anymore, but on the older ones it was on the door. So we know we don't have Bose. We don't have to worry about keeping the Bose RCAs on there. So we can just whack those off. So let's get this radio out of the box and get it mounted in the kit. Now this kit will allow you to do a single or double din. We're doing a double din so we can get rid of those pieces there. If you are doing a double din, you don't need these little pieces on the back as well. This is what screws into the pocket. You are gonna need these, so don't lose those. Comes with a bag of screws. And this guy here. This needs to be removed in order to do a double din. For that, flush cutters work great. If you don't have a pair of these, you should. If you'd like to get a pair, go to Dean and Fernando's tool drawer and check it out. There's a link in the description. That's dndftooldrawr.com. Go ahead and snap the bezel in place, and then these guys pop in like this. Now these say single din and double din on them. Make sure you put it the right side up for single or double din. Now all we have to do is slide it over the radio. So So as far as dash kits go, this is definitely one of the nicer, easier dash kits to make. However, when you are doing a motorized faceplate, it gets a little trickier. And that's mainly just because these corners here are round. If you've seen us do these videos before, we like to square out these corners. We do that using a razor knife. And then sometimes what you'll have to do is use the straight edge of this just to sand this down just a hair. I mean, literally a hair. And then you'll get full opening and closing capabilities, no problem. Alright, so our kit is all square and good to go. Screws are in nice and tight. Now, like anything else, there's two ways to test anything. If you want to know whether or not you have the amplified system and you're like, I think I might, even though I don't see a Bose logo anywhere, I think I have it. There's another way to test it. And for that, you'll need a tone generator. Let's go in the car and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so what you want to do is plug in the factory harness. And you just need to plug in one of the speakers, front or rear, it doesn't matter. And then go ahead and take that speaker, take your tone generator, turn it on. And now, if it has a factory amplifier, it will not make sound unless the amplifier is turned on. So we have the car off, we don't have the radio on. If we do this, we hear sound. That means that this wire is going directly to the speaker in the back and there's no amplifier between it. So we know this is a non-amplified system. So we have our harness all set and ready to go. We've set our steering wheel controls to 7 because it's a Pioneer. Before we plug this in, now we're gonna go ahead and just plug this into the car and wrap this install up. All right, so what we want to do now is, of course, do our testing, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have to reprogram the steering wheel controls. So the volume is working, but when you go to page 2 on the instructions, it's going to give you what the preset functions are, which is fine. However, this does so much more. This will do double press, meaning you can assign 2 things to one button, plus there's no VR assigned anywhere on here. So what we want to do is go ahead and go to page 3, and we're going to reprogram these. On the side, there's a little button here, and then there's a little LED right here. As you press the buttons, they correspond to these. So for example, we're going to hit it to start it, and we'll go volume up, volume down, and so on and so forth. And then when we come to something like mute, we'll go ahead and skip it. If you need to skip, you just press once, and that'll go ahead and skip. Volume up, volume down, mute, reset, source, rack up, rack down, band, phone menu, answer call, press and hold, end call, VR. And then we're done. Now what we want to do is wait for this light to flash to time out. All right, so it's gone ahead and flash to time out. We got volume. What's the weather like today?
It's currently partly.
All right, so this guy is done. All right, this one is done. On to the next one.
What did I say?
Whatever you just said.
I can't remember.